The closing arguments of the Kyle Rittenhouse trial took place this afternoon. Unfortunately, I could not listen to a large portion of the defense's case in the background because of meetings. When I was able to do so, I went back to where I had been watching the live stream on V Radio's live broadcast of the trial. I'd been there for previous days, and he had come and listened to previous podcasts of mine as well. When I came back to his stream, I heard V Radio say this.
Freaking losing my mind. I'm glad that they had that picture. They had a different picture. So, like, when he was playing the Rundown Live video, you might have seen I was, like, playing around with my mouse, hoping I could point at Rosenbaum, because I knew he was fucking there. I knew he was there. Oh, man. I'm just glad they already had the information. There's no freaking way they would have got my information in time. That's just awesome. Woo!
Obviously, I'm curious as to what he was talking about. I had several times previously been critical of Binger's handling of the case and was curious about what he'd done now and how the defense had handled it. Through some back and forth in chat, some people, including V Radio, had made the assertion that Binger had lied because Binger had said that after the dumpster fire altercation, that Rosenbaum wasn't there. However, I had heard that part of the closing argument of the prosecution. I distinctly remembered that the point that was being made by Binger in that particular argument was not that Rosenbaum wasn't there, but that Rosenbaum did not make the threat that was claimed to have been made by Ryan Balch at that point. I said that V Radio was perhaps taking a singular comment out of context. V Radio asserted that it must have been my bias that was clouding my judgment, and that he was the one who remembered it right because it had literally just happened. Now, V Radio had also seemed to not have remembered the discussion over closing arguments, another part of the trial that I heard while listening to his live streams. I posited that perhaps him not remembering that there was a discussion that a rebuttal from the prosecution would happen, that perhaps he also wasn't remembering the arguments made by Binger in relation to Rosenbaum and the fire in the dumpster incident. V Radio had wanted nothing to do with it. But when people challenged my integrity, as he did, by claiming that I was being dishonest because of my bias, I tend to dig in. V Radio refused to accept the possibility that I was correct, and that perhaps it was his bias that clouded his recollection of events. So, let's look at that singular statement by Binger.
There's no Rosenbaum. It didn't happen.
So there is a small bit of the closing by Binger in relation to the video. Binger clearly says, there's no Rosenbaum. It didn't happen. So let's look at the defense and see what they showed in their closing.
Here's the picture that we showed at the beginning. Right there, the 125-26. Mr. Rosenbaum masked with his chain during the Rundown Live video.
So there you go. Case closed, right? V Radio and others clearly are right in that Binger lied and that I did not recollect the arguments as they were made by Binger in his closing. I should now owe V Radio an apology for not only suggesting that it was him who failed to recollect the closing statements by Binger, but for continuously trying to defend myself and my integrity in his chat when he'd asked me to stop doing so. But hold on. Let us look at what Binger said. All of it.
The defense would love to be able to play you a video of this threat. They would love for you to see it and hear it yourself. This is a night in which there are dozens of people out there, reporters and regular folks who are recording with their cell phones and with other cameras all night long. We have shown you video of almost every minute of the defendant's night from multiple different angles. And yet, you have not been shown a single video with this threat. Nowhere. It's not out there. Ryan Balch testified, and we have his transcript. We have his testimony, and what he says is there was an incident in which Dustin Collette had put out a dumpster fire and said something to the effect of, "Fuck around and find out." And Balch steps in, and he has an exchange with the protesters, and he turns around, and Rosenbaum is right there in front of my face yelling and screaming. And I tell him to back up. And he goes, "You know what? If I catch any of you guys, blah, blah, blah." So that's the timing, according to Ryan Balch. Right after that dumpster fire, Kriston Harris from the Rundown Live was there, physically, standing right next to Ryan Balch. Not only was he there during the dumpster fire, but he stays with Ryan Balch and or the defendant for the next 6 or 7 minutes, recording everything. And I've played this video for you. It is Exhibit 18. And I played for you a period of time from 1 hour and 22 minutes to 1 hour and 28 minutes. And I asked Kriston Harris, I call him to the stand, and I said, "I'm going to ask you 2 questions. Number 1, do you independently remember seeing Joseph Rosenbaum, hearing this threat?" And he said, "No." And then I said, "Okay, well, maybe you missed it because, you know, there's a lot going on. So will you rewatch your video for me and tell me, is it in there?" And he said, "No." This video captures that entire period of time with Ryan Balch and the defendant right there, and there's no threat. There's no Rosenbaum. It didn't happen. The defense desperately wants this because they've got to give you a reason why it's okay to kill Joseph Rosenbaum. And this threat is critical to their case. But it's not there. In exhibit number 3, and I'll play it for you here as I'm talking, Joseph Rosenbaum isn't even visible.
Now, it is possible that maybe this last portion of the last clip is the clip that some are trying to hang their hat on to say that Binger lied. But again, that clip has to be taken within the context of the entirety of the argument that Binger is making, and not the straw man argument that Binger was lying because the defense showed a picture of Rosenbaum being there. Look, I remember when we were all listening to Binger testify, or close, that they were mocking Binger when he said blah, blah, blah. Of course, the reason Binger said blah, blah, blah is because Binger is making the claim that the testimony of Ryan Balch is wrong. Binger's argument here is not that Rosenbaum wasn't at this particular place. Binger's argument is not only that the jury has no evidence of this threat because the defense cannot produce any video of him saying it. Binger's argument is also that what I said it was, and what I said to V Radio in chat. Binger's argument is that the video evidence proves that Ryan Balch's testimony was false. It doesn't matter that the defense was able to show a picture of Rosenbaum at some point during the live stream that they were airing, because what the defense can't do is show Rosenbaum making that threat to Balch or to Rosenbaum, because the video evidence proves that it did not happen in the manner that Balch testified to. Of course, those are just Binger's words. Binger has misspoken before in this trial, and I wouldn't expect the people who believe that Kyle Rittenhouse to be factually innocent to just take Binger's word and Balch's testimony. So let's look at Balch's testimony.
You got in between him and Dustin Collette, between Mr. Rosenbaum and Dustin Collette. Was the defendant present for that?
It immediately preceded him threatening me and Kyle Rittenhouse.
So was the defendant present for that?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Collette had stopped him from starting something on fire. There's a video of it, and Dustin Collette said something to the effect of "fuck around and find out." And I stepped in and told everybody, chill out, calm down, stop doing that. I turned and had an exchange with one of the protesters, and I kind of explained to that protester, hey, you know, I get what you're trying to do, but like not this. And when I turned around, Rosenbaum was right there in front of my face, yelling and screaming, and I said, dude, back up. Just like, chill. I don't know what your problem is. And he goes, you know what? If If I catch any of you guys alone tonight, I'm gonna fucking kill you.
So there's Bouch's testimony. Binger accurately represented it in closing. But then Binger also makes the claim that the video evidence disproves that it happens in the way that Bouch describes. So let's look at that video evidence.
Joseph Rosenbaum is not in this video. Here's Dustin Collette about to put the fire out.
Hey. Reel in. Don't cause problems when there's none here. Yeah, that's true. Just stay on your property. I have to agree with her.
There's Ryan Balch standing right next to Gage Grosskreutz. Joseph Rosenbaum isn't here. And the defendant and his group are being told an important message. As long as you stay on your property, but don't go out there and cause trouble.
I have to agree with her. They shouldn't be on the street. They're just protecting their property. One of the guy's an asshole. I thought they were yelling at them. I was like, the other guy is losing his patience. We should go inside. Yeah, if you guys can switch him out.
He's talking to Ryan Balch right now.
He's got a lot of rage. He said the wrong thing. This whole problem is the guy's life. Protect your property. They're respecting that. Just keep it there.
This is where Ryan Balch goes and talks to a protester.
He's just trying to protect his property. He doesn't want anything. He said he has no problem with you guys. He just wants to burn down his shit. I can't blame him. I understand. Hey, your job isn't to be in the streets. You gotta stay on your property. That's why we got problems already with people. No one bothering your property. Don't look for trouble or anything. A medic? I know you are, but like, they got their own medics. And, if somebody's close by, take care of them. I know you're just trying to make peace. I get that, but they don't look at it that way. They look at you guys as it's as much as you guys are afraid of them before they march down here. I know, but like when the conversations are having. Thanks, guys.
Back away from the business. Back away from the business.
So in that footage, we see the fuck around and find out comment. We see Ryan Bouch not just talk to one, but several people in the street after that comment. And at no point in the video does Rosenbaum threaten the lives of Bouch, Rittenhouse, or anyone else. The prosecution proved that the testimony of Bouch was wrong and not reliable. That was the context that V Radio and others missed when they tried to not only claim that Binger was lying, but that I was not remembering the facts properly and that it was my bias that was clouding my memories. It wasn't to argue simply that Rosenbaum couldn't be seen. It was to show that the threat that the defense claims to have happened as per the testimony of Ryan Bouch didn't happen as Bouch said. So why should we then believe that the threat was made if it's been shown that it didn't happen in the way that Bouch said?
At no point in that video do you hear any threat that Joseph Rosenbaum makes. It's not there. Trust me. If the defense had it, they'd play it for you.
Now, why did I make this video? I could have simply let it drop, but there are several reasons that I ultimately decided to make the video. First and foremost, being that I don't like seeing people attacking my integrity. I try to walk a fine line with all the content that I create. If I'm going to share my opinion, I want to make sure that people understand that it is my opinion that I am sharing. But if I'm saying something as fact, I want to do so with the belief that I am representing the facts in the way that the best that I know them. So that when V Radio and others claimed that my statement of fact was somehow clouded by my opinions or bias, I felt that I needed to correct the record. Secondly, I was also open to the fact that I could have been wrong. Had my recollection of the events not matched the videos that I collected that were necessary to make this video would have taken a whole other form. It would have instead been an apology video to V Radio and others in the chat who would have at that point have rightly insisted that I was wrong. Part of what I feel is paramount to my desire to always behave with integrity is to always be open to the idea that I might be wrong. And then if I'm wrong, that I correct the record as well, and also make apologies for what I have done because of my being wrong. I do think that in this case that I have proven myself right in this situation. I do believe that the video evidence shows that my recollection of the events were in fact correct. Finally, had this simply been an argument with just a random content creator, I might not have felt that creating this video would have been worth it because it may have very well fallen on deaf ears. However, from what I've gathered so far about V Radio, I believe that he is also somebody who tries to act with integrity. I believe that he is the type of person who, if shown a valid argument, will change his mind. I believe him to be the kind of person who would also apologize when shown that he has treated somebody unfairly. And I do believe that the claims that I was incorrect and that I was reporting the facts in a biased way was an example of him treating me unfairly. So right now I'm putting the ball in your court, V Radio. You are of course free to ignore this. I hope you don't. I hope you listen, and I hope you reconsider your position of what you said to me in your chat today. But regardless of all that, I do want to say one more thing. I do apologize for dragging it out repeatedly in your chat. When you requested that I stop it, I should have brought it to email. It is your channel, and as such, I would hope that you would respect the wishes on my channel, just as I should be respecting the wishes on yours, and in the future, I will try and do a better job to respect your wishes that you state publicly in your channel. Hindsight is of course 2020, and we don't always act perfectly 100% of the time, so I do also hope that you accept my apology for not stopping my digging in my heels during the chat and instead taking my issues to email or just making the video just to prove that I was, had the facts correct. So again, I apologize for not stopping in the chat, and I hope you accept that apology. Thank you very much, and have a good rest of your day.